Hello everyone, today I'm going to do a pencil sketch of a cow. So let's begin by just putting down some very loose and light lines to indicate the general shape of the animal. Now at this stage I'm not really looking at the cow with too much concentration. I'm just kind of letting the pencil dance around the page, and in doing this it's a really nice relaxing way to get started on a drawing. Completely takes the pressure of trying to get it right or worrying about getting it wrong. It completely takes that away and just allows you to get started in a very gentle, rhythmic, almost meditative way, really. I wouldn't normally be talking as I was drawing, but if you're doing this on your own, it's a very, very peaceful way to spend a few minutes. Just letting the pencil glide across the paper and observing the cow or whatever it is that you're drawing. Okay, so we have a general indication of a cow on the paper now. Now, having done this, what I'm going to do now is go back over with slightly more precise lines and taking a little bit more care. So I'm going to start at the head again, and let's begin by correcting this line. And you see, some of the lines that I've put down already will almost by chance be correct. So if those lines have worked well, then I'll either just leave them as they are, or I will enhance them by just making them a little bit darker. You can see we can just gradually refine the outline of the cow's head. And notice that I'm keeping the pencil sort of leaned over to the side. I'm not using it like a pen. And the reason for doing that is it tends to give a more characterful line. I'm using some mixed media paper here. And it's a fairly smooth paper, but there is a slight texture to it. So by keeping the pencil on its side, I'm picking up some of that texture, and just makes for a slightly more interesting drawing, in my opinion. So there's the head of the animal. Now the neck, that comes up at a little bit of a steeper angle than I had. And then the top of the back, or the rounds over there. Then there's a little lump in the back there, and then another slight bobble along the spine, and then just here there's a little bit of a hollow in the back. And then let's put in some of the legs. So we'll indicate the neck there. And some of the lines I've put down, they weren't too far out actually. Others have needed correcting as I've gone round. And I suspect this leg is going to be in a different place once I've gone over with my second attempt here. Yes, so I've just moved that foot forward a little bit from where I had it. Cows have got these wonderful knobbly knees and knobbly ankles, so they're really lovely things to draw. Lots of curves and different shapes that they create depending on the position of their leg. And of course you don't have to indicate every single thing that you see in your reference photo, or if you're working from a live animal. Part of the artist's job is to be selective in what they put down on the paper. So if you're not sure about a line, or you're not quite sure what to do, absolutely acceptable to just not do it. Just leave it out for a bit, come back to it later. Or you may find that you don't need to do it at all. Sometimes the less you do, the more impactful and striking the image that you'll create. So just working on the rear legs now. coming down to the hoof there. And the final rear leg just popping out from behind the other one. And then there's a little bit of a swish of a tail just here. Can't see much of the tail, but there is a bit just popping out of from behind the animal. Now let's have a look. So I'm just now reviewing my drawing. So it's not perfect. I think I've made the body a little bit too chunky here. I think that could do with coming up a bit, perhaps. But it's not too bad. Not too bad. And I think really the head ought to be just perhaps a little bit longer. Let's just bring that nose down a touch. So let's pop a little horizon line in to just indicate that the cow is occupying some space, and we want some indication of some cast shadows on the ground. And yeah, that's, well, A, they're there in reality, but B, an indication of a cast shadow shows that the animal is standing on something solid. So having put our line work in, what we'll do now is we'll just introduce a sense of light and dark. So I'll start working in the darkest areas, not worrying too much about subtlety here. Just if I'm making a snap decision as I look at my reference photo, I'm sort of saying to myself, is that area dark or light? And if it's dark, again using the side of the pencil, I'm going to block it in with a darker shade. And if I judge it to be light with that snap decision, then I will just leave it unshaded. And really the key here is to simplify. As with much of art, many of the techniques in art and drawing, the real key is to simplify wherever you can. So by taking this very simple, is it light or is it dark approach, it avoids having to make difficult decisions. So you can just say, this is what I'm going to do. Get on with it, and then you can always correct it later. Now, one of the things I really enjoy doing, having taken the drawing to this stage, is to change from working with a pencil to using just a simple biro ballpoint pen. And I really like the contrast between the two different media. So I'm actually using a black biro, black ink today, but another one of my favourites is to use a blue biro, and I feel that really complements the grey of the pencil marks really well. It's just, for me, it's a really lovely contrast and complement between the two. But for today, we'll just stick with the black. So what I'm doing now as I go around the drawing once again is I'm just putting in some slightly more expressive lines now. For the most part, those lines will be broken. In other words, I'm not going to have a continuous outline around the head of the animal. Again, I feel that gives a more characterful drawing and gives a little bit of the sense of texture of the animal, a little bit of a sense of movement, and also a sense of light catching the animal as well, because it implies that the edge of the animal has a varying degree of light playing over its surface, rather than if I just put a solid outline around the animal. That tends to make things look flatter and less three-dimensional. So there's an indication of the eye. Now I actually used a 7B pencil, so it's quite a soft pencil, and as you can see I've started to smudge the drawing there. I tend not to worry about that too much. What I'll do is when I've finished, I will just clean up certain areas using a putty rubber, and that will allow me to pick out highlights as well. So continuing to work around the animal, refining lines, and just defining the key areas, the things I think that are most important to give a representation of what's going on. and convey the posture and poise of this particular animal. So sometimes when I do this, I feel, not so much in this case, but I feel it's almost as if you're pulling an animal out of the mist. The creature is sort of revealing itself to you from this sort of ill-defined grey cloud. I suppose there's still an element of that in this drawing, but less so than some of the others I've done. So that the line of this belly needs to come down more to the left, and then it sweeps up rather, and then there's a lovely little curve in there. And then we can put in just a few blades of grass as well, just not to go overboard, but just to give a little bit of contrast between the pencil and the pen on the ground as well. So having done that, we'll go back again to the head and now use the pen to introduce some texture and some even deeper shadow using hatching or cross-hatching. And we can use this technique to not only darken certain areas, but to create a sense of curved surfaces and texture. The direction of the pen marks that we make will give us some information about the shape of the animal's head and body and the texture of the hair. So we really do have, quite a lot of control, quite a lot of choices to make, even if you're using a simple medium like a biro. So having done that, what I'm going to do now is just grab the putty rubber and remove some of the pencil marks where I want things to be lightest. In other words, I'm going to pick out the highlights on the cow. So let's begin by picking out a highlight on the head of the animal. And there's one on the nose here as well. So sometimes you have to work at this a little bit more, but it's worth persevering just to get back to that pure white. And it also allows you to clean up around the animal if you think it's appropriate. And in fact, I've just decided to break up that horizon line a little bit, just to give that a little bit more of a variation of strength of line. I can also tidy up the jawline there, and remove some of the smudges that I put down accidentally from the background. And then, having worked my way around the animal, just need to tidy up the line of the back here. And pick out a couple more highlights where the light is really catching And so there we've got a simple pencil and biro sketch of a cow grazing. And I guess that took me, roughly 15 minutes. So just by keeping things simple, we can very quickly put down the impression of an animal. We haven't gone into any detail, but we've got a pretty decent cow, looks three-dimensional, grazing away in a field. And it's a way of very quickly putting down an expressive image. And of course you can continue to work into this with either paint or felt tip pen or whatever you like really, watercolour, more pencil, more biro, coloured pencils. You can add more layers of detail if you wish. Okay, so I hope you really enjoyed watching this video. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to get in touch. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you for the next video. Thanks again for watching.